Warrior. Three starts back, won the Parks Dirt Mile to end last season, and did it with a 104 buyer. Yesterday, he has that great duel, and so he's maybe a little bit of a Jekyll and Hyde as you look down the PPs. That said, that was career victory number 10 and career start number 26 for Mind Control. The kind of horse you would love to own, clearly. And Todd Pletcher took him over a while ago. Greg Sacco had him early in the career. Greg's brother is one of the managing partners, I believe, for the group that owns him. It was Greg's brother who's quoted in the racing forum, talking about the race. And then they said, what's next? And he said, we'll get him back to his Belmont base, and then we'll try to figure things out, looking for something probably up at Saratoga. So it looks like we'll see Mind Control up at Saratoga. After the race, Mike Smith was asked, are you happy with it? And he said, I was not, we lost. I wasn't happy. And I wasn't happy mostly because I know how talented Hot Rod Charlie is, and I don't think he really showed his talent yesterday. But, it was the comeback from Dubai. We saw last week that can be successfully overcome. The Dubai curse, the first race back, Casa Creed looked great on the return last week. So that's not necessary. That curse maybe is out the window these days. But Hot Rod Charlie, it was a solid run, you would think, from both of those, because it was really one of those head bobbing situations. They both wound up with a 104 buyer. So, again, it was a solid performance. For Hot Rod Charlie, that tied his best. For Mind Control, that tied his best buyer. For Hot Rod Charlie, he had a 111 as a top buyer. So he's hit the triple digit a few times, and at least a couple of times, 3 times that I'm looking at. He's been higher than that 104, but the 104 is still pretty good performance. Coming cross country. So we'll see what's next for Hot Rod Charlie. But as I say, Mind Control probably looking for something at Saratoga. And as I said, Mind Control now won 10 times. And with yesterday's purse, went well over $1.5 million in earnings. So again, a nice performance there, really from both of them. Nice ding-dong battle down the stretch. And it's one of those that you're impressed by, because Mind Control was really out there from the get-go. On the chart, he led them all the way around with fairly legitimate fractions, 23, 46, 111, 123. And so when Hot Rod Charlie made the move, came up, and then put that head in front, it's the kind of situation where you've seen it enough times where Hot Rod Charlie is probably going to push by, but at least be able to continue on for the win. And it's just, you love to see it, but you don't see it that often, that horse come back on the inside like that. So it was a nice performance from Mind Control for sure, and now excited to see what will be next, and what potentially we might see from him up at Saratoga. But he has another name to what is shaping up to be a fun season potentially on the stakes side of things up at Saratoga, no doubt about it. All right, a little bit earlier on the card at Monmouth yesterday, excuse me, it was the Monmouth Stakes. They were on the grass, field of 10 in here. I liked, and we talked yesterday with Samantha Perry, paddock commentator at Monmouth. We were talking about this race, and we both kind of fell towards Sacred Life for Michael Dubb and company, Chad Brown trainee. Sacred Life had run second last time in the Fort Marcy at Belmont. So it had been a little bit of a disappointing 2022 season with a 6th in the Pegasus World Cup Turf, a 4th in the Muñoz at Fairgrounds, but then seemed to maybe get back on track last time with that 2nd in the Fort Marcy. And certainly there were races underneath that were good enough. Had tried the Monmouth Turf earlier in the career and had won the Ocean Port a couple of seasons back. So, as I say, we were tilting yesterday towards this one on top. Betting public, clearly, I was a little surprised at how much action this horse got off, as I say, a little bit of maybe of a disappointing season so far, but went off just over even money yesterday. Sacred Life's going to be the number 6 horse in here. Safe Conduct, the number 7, it's Phil Serpi and Jose Lescano. They'll run second. And number 9, Epic Bromance, will run third in here. But again, at a short price. Number 6, Sacred Life, gets it done. Chart margin winds up to be a length and a quarter. So gets back to his winning ways. And again, it's been a couple of seasons where it's been a little light maybe for this one. Over the past 2 years, 9 starts and 1 win before yesterday. So now in the 4th start of this 2022 season, gets it done. 8th career victory in 25 starts, 9 seconds and a third. So again, another nice productive runner. We'll see where this one goes next. That was a grade 3 event yesterday, had started the season in the grade 1 Pegasus World Cup turf, the grade 2 Muñez, the grade 2 Fort Marcy, and now gets a grade 3 victory. So probably at this, stage of the 7-year-old career, they'll pick their spots a little bit. But again, with these connections, do we see this one up at Saratoga? I don't know, but a nice performance yesterday, certainly to get back on track as the favorite in the field of 10. Continuing with our looks at Monmouth from Saturday afternoon on just a really nice stakes day. Florent Geroux, I think they announced in the paddock had some kind of travel issues that unfortunately kept them from getting over there to ride. So Florent Geroux was named on Homebrew in the Pegasus. Pegasus for 3-year-olds, $150,000 up for grabs. 8.5 furlongs. I thought electability was the one to tilt towards in here. It's Chad Brown and Klarovich with only 4 starts. And in the 4th start, they went to the Peter Pan. They wound up a well-beaten 3rd there behind We the People, and maybe they weren't flattered by that one last week. But electability, number 4 horse, you can see, going to wind up to be a well-beaten 2nd. The horse I had in the mix underneath was Homebrew. That's going to be the winner there in the Gary and Mary West Silks for Brad Cox. And I said about Homebrew that his last race, April 23rd, it was the Oaklawn at Oaklawn. And he won it in fine fashion, and in a fashion that said maybe in career start number 5, the light bulb had turned on. Now, he had already won a couple of races, and so it wasn't one of those absolute light bulb moments that you kind of think about, but it was maybe a light bulb moment that said the horse, again, had figured out and had moved to kind of another level. And I think this maybe validates that. Homebrew now becomes maybe an interesting player on the 3-year-old scene, certainly. 94 buyer yesterday, so I thought that was a pretty solid number. That was a lifetime best for Homebrew. And again, the chart margin there, a solid 6+ lengths. Electability 2nd, Cyber Viking 3rd. But as I say, pretty nice performance from this one. And now the past couple of starts just seems to have really improved. Took a break from January 1st until April 23rd in that Oaklawn. And again, kind of stepped forward. One of those, I talk about it every once in a while with these, a lightly raced 2-year-old, lightly raced 3-year-old, if they get a little break like that, sometimes they come back improved. This one seems to be one of those. And as I say, now kind of throws his hat in the 3-year-old picture this year. We'll see where he goes next, but it is Brad Cox. This horse has been based down at Churchill. But of course, Brad, a presence up at Saratoga. We'll see if this one will shoot for some of the 3-year-old action up there or pick spots otherwise. This was Haskell preview day. Haskell might be. I didn't see any follow-up that laid out what the plans are next, but the options are out there now. Finally, on the stakes action yesterday at Monmouth, the Eatontown fillies and mares going a mile and a 16th on the grass. This one was kind of interesting because I like Princess Grace, the number 6 horse. She's going to just not be good, run last in the field of 7. Chad Brown had 2 in here, the 7 and the 8. Lamista and Fluffy Socks, they will run 3rd and 4th. And then Shug had Vigilante's Way in here, and I thought Vigilante's Way, the number 1, was very interesting. But Shug also had Stolen Holiday, the number 3, and Stolen Holiday lives up to her name, goes to the front end, and takes them all the way around under Jose Lezcano. 8-1 here. You got $18 and change for the other Shug horse, and then Vigilante's Way runs second. So for an all Shug McGahee exacta, you got over $90. And a nice performance on the front end for Stolen Victory for sure. And as I say, a Shug exacta, which is notable also because the 2 Chad horses then run 3rd and 4th. So on the turf this season, the Chad Zacta has been one to take a look at. But yesterday it was the Shug Zacta in the Eatontown at Monmouth. Again, that was kicking off the stakes action. And I don't know whether I noted Homebrew in the Pegasus, getting it done for Brad Cox, Gary, and Mary West. I said Florent Giro had gotten stuck and so couldn't make it. He had been named on Homebrew, but Paco Lopez jumped on board. So nice pickup mount for Paco Lopez down there to win the Pegasus on Homebrew. All right, some of the other action. Let's take a look yesterday at the poker. It's a mile on the grass, $250,000 up for grabs. Short field of only 5, and this kicked off that huge carryover pick 5, and I'm sure that many people had Mason singled on their tickets. I did. I tweeted out a little pick 5 ticket yesterday afternoon. I had Mason singled in the first leg, and so many people were happy after this race. Mason goes out for Chad Brown and Judmont, and just looked to have this field over a barrel. Flavian Prat on board. He had been sporting a couple of triple-digit buyers since arriving in the United States. So on the numbers, looked to have the edge and lived up to it. Chart margins a length here. Wolfie's Dynaghost runs second. Public Sector, the other Chad horse, runs third. As you can see, in kind of a blanket finish there amongst the next 3. Sanctuary City, who I thought was a little bit interesting at 12-1, and was kind of hoping that one might complete the exacta, runs 4th. But 4th by a nose and a nose. It's dead tight here behind Mason. Mason, again, chart margin winds up to be a length, but the next 3 and Sanctuary City's the number 2. I thought right here, man, I'm going to get up and complete the exacta with the 12-1 shot, and then just and winds up actually 4th here as the heads bob up and down. But Mason, Wolfie's Ghost, Public Sector, Sanctuary, 1, 2, 3, 4 there. The word is on Mason that the 4-star day up at Saratoga, nice grade 1 up at Saratoga, will be next, which has turned out to be a really fun race up at Saratoga. Not just this year, I mean the last few years. It has been notable and fun. It's August 13th, 4-star day. That looks like that will be the objective, the next objective for Mason, coming out of the nice win yesterday. Also, last night, they had a night card at Churchill, and their feature race there was the Monomoy Girl. Ungraded, but $160,000, up for grabs. Mile and a 16th for the 3-year-old fillies. And this, again, Homebrew kind of threw his hat into the ring on the 3-year-old male side. Maybe Society threw her hat in the ring as one to watch on the 3-year-old filly side. I'm not sure how strong a field this was, and I haven't seen a number yet for Society. But Society had started the career at Keeneland last fall and won a maiden race in the debut. Then went into the barn of Steve Asmussen, made the seasonal debut this year in the second career start, and won an optional claimer at Churchill on May 6th. This was the 3rd career start, little overnight stakes race. Society wins by, chart margin's only half a length. Did go off as the chalky favorite, so I guess you could argue, did this one win like a 3 to 5 shot should? But by Gun Runner, trained by Steve Asmussen, 3 for 3 so far in the career. And again, I haven't seen the number yet. The number in the first couple of races was not spectacular by any means. We had a 75 and a 78, so I didn't see it. But again, lightly raced, so we'll see. We'll see where they go next and what they try. Is Coaching Club American Oaks on the agenda? Yeah, I doubt it, but I could see this horse maybe picking some spots and maybe being interesting in some of those various Oaks races around the country, the alternative Oaks kind of spotting ideas. We'll see what they have next, though, for Society. Undefeated, so that's always impressive. In some other racing action from this past week, did want to go back to last Sunday because obviously we didn't watch this in replay last Sunday because it was last Sunday afternoon. But the Matt Win was held at Churchill Downs last week, and just wanted to show that because Cyberknife got back on track. Cyberknife, who had won the Arkansas Derby, then went in the Kentucky Derby and disappointing 18th in the field of 20 in the Kentucky Derby, but came back last Sunday in the Matt Win. Has a nice little duel here with a horse that I thought was intriguing. I had these two 1-2, Cyberknife over Howling Time, but Dale Romans with Howling Time coming out an optional claiming win at Churchill in the prior start really gives Cyberknife all he can ask for. Cyberknife just gets up late. He was on the outside there, gets the head bob. Chart margin is a nose, but Howling Time, a nice performance from that one as well. They did go off as the 1 and 2 choices, but Cyberknife, I was a little bit surprised, given the Kentucky Derby performance, that the betting public was so high on Cyberknife. They sent that one off at 1-2. Howling Time was 4-1. But again, they were both interesting players already on the 3-year-old scene. Howling Time, as a 2-year-old last year, had won the Street Sense down at Churchill. As a 3-year-old, hadn't quite lived up to that, but again, had been intriguing already in the career. The win in the prior start and the optional claimer kind of seemed to get him going now, maybe for the 3-year-old season. And of course, Cyberknife with the Arkansas Derby win was already one that was, had a little something on the resume. So we'll see what's next for both of these, but they certainly put on an absolutely ding-dong duel here. And it is, again, on the outside, it is, that is dead close. So it was a nice performance for both of those. Cyberknife, Brad Cox, and Al Gold, and Howling Time for Dale Romans, the Albaugh family. Putting on a show, for sure, down at Churchill last weekend. And finally, going back a couple of days, going back to Friday, I just had to show this. I was in handicapping in the afternoon. It was one of those where you watch it and say, wow, that was some performance. There was a maiden race on Friday. It was the third race on the card, 2-year-old fillies at Monmouth. 5 furlongs the trip. I like number 6, Spouty's Girl. By practical joke, there was a little win early there. Trainer Kelly Breen can have them ready. There were 2 siblings that had won their debuts. Spouty Girl, the number 6, kind of disappoints as the favorite, running 6th in the field of 8. But the horse I had underneath was Money's Gold, and you can see her out in front here. Her lone sibling took 4 starts to win, but overall throughout the career, 9 starts, a win, 2 seconds, and 5 thirds. So the sibling had a little bit of ability. Bunnings on top. They paid $300,000 for this horse. Todd Pletcher and company get it done in the third race on Friday at Monmouth. But A, it was visually impressive, obviously, but B, she got a 101 buyer. I mean, just bananas. And so we'll see what they have in store for her. But you would think the potential is to be up at Saratoga with her, certainly. I mean, 101 for a 2-year-old filly in June. Just, as I say, bananas for that one. So Money's Gold, mark it down. We will watch what's up next for her. So again, there were some stakes performances and a very nice 2-year-old filly that we'll keep our eyes on from yesterday and days prior to that. Giving you an idea of some of the action worth noting. And again, some that will clearly play into our backyard here in just about 3 weeks or so. We're getting closer. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, a little handicapping. We'll take a little look at Belmont for Sunday afternoon. And then a little bit later than that, we'll do a little more handicapping just because closing day at Santa Anita today. and there is a mandatory pay in the Rainbow Six. So we'll toss out some ideas on their Rainbow Six as well. All of that coming up when Racing Across America continues. Stay tuned.
Capital OTB is now streaming live on Roku. The RTN Racing channel on Roku lets you watch OTB TV live through your Roku device or your Amazon Fire Stick, rather than being limited to computers and mobile devices, which means you can now watch OTB live wherever you are. Simply open Roku, scroll to find the RTN channel, then click on OTB TV. OTB TV on Roku. Try it now.
Birdstone is an outside front. They're coming down to the finish. Can Smarty Jones hold on? Here comes Birdstone. Birdstone surges past. Birdstone wins the Belmont Stakes.
Here comes High Chaparral. High Chaparral, the defending champ, to take it to Papa. These two arch rivals head to head with Joe Hart very dominant. It's going to be a three-horse photo finish to the turn. Here's the wire. Final finish.
What if there was a way to become a better horse player? To have a better knowledge of the game? To be more successful? What if there were a way to take what you've learned, what you know, and make better decisions, better choices? In horse racing, knowledge is a powerful tool. Race results and replays, past performances and live streaming, wagering from all your digital devices. Capital OTB. Become a better horse player.
Welcome back to Racing Across America. Again, we'll take a look at, we'll give some ideas for the late pick four at Belmont for today. But before we do that, let's go back to yesterday, because yesterday, I think everybody, including me, a little bit excited with that pick five carryover yesterday. I tweeted out a pick five play and got knocked out in the second leg, as I'm assuming probably a lot of people did. But there was a carry in the pick six and a carry in the pick five. The pick five yesterday paid, 50-cent pick five paid just about $2,600. And it, if you had the one kooky horse in the sequence, and it was the race where it was, we labeled it yesterday on the Handicappers Report as a tough race. And so that was the race where you probably had to spread around a little bit. If you had that one, it had $2,600 for 50 cents. The pick six, again with the carryover, pays $1 pick six, pays over $37,000. That was a little bit of a tougher ticket because there was a couple in there you would have had to have had. But just to kind of give an idea of the sequence, the pick six sequence, that one started with a $19 winner. That was the sixth longest price, or the sixth shot in a field of seven. So that one was a little tough to come up with to maybe kick off the sequence. Then we moved to the pick five. As I say, Mason started the pick five, and at $2.60, you would have to think a lot of people were happy and live after that one. And given that you could have singled there, in that next race, you maybe could have played around and wound up with, was it Castlelec? But at $30, seventh longest price in a field of 9. So you had to stretch a little bit there. My ticket, it was so frustrating. I had the horse that ran second by a neck. I mean, there was kind of a little bit of a blanket finish there, and just missed out. And that was, other than that, 4 or 5. But that one pays $30, and as I say, the seventh choice in a field of 9. So in the pick 6 and early in the pick 5, there were a couple. The sixth choice in a field of 7 to kick off the pick 6. The third leg of the pick 6, second leg of the pick 5, seventh choice in a field of 9. So those were the two that really you had to search for a little bit. The next race, there was an $8 horse, but it was the favorite in a field of 7. Then the fourth choice in a field of 10 paid $11.60. Second choice in a field of 10 wound up the sequence and paid $8.90. So you had two favorites in the pick 5, a fourth choice and a second choice. and then that 7th in a field of 9. That was the one you had to come up with. But as I say, I can certainly see people having spread in that leg that looked like you probably had to spread in a little bit, and maybe coming up with that $30 horse. Maybe you hit the all button. Maybe you could afford to, if you paired up with some friends, to afford to have hit that all button perhaps. And again, you had $2,500, about $2,600 for 50 cents yesterday with that, just that massive pool. Pool was about $2 million yesterday in the pick 5. Again, it was fun to jump into, put a little ticket together, and I would have liked to have had my ticket alive a little bit longer than the second leg, but that's the way it works out sometimes. But going 4 or 5, at least it's encouraging. It's like getting, once you see at the end, I went 4 or 5. It's like, you're having a horrible round of golf, and then the last hole, you get a par, and you want to come back the next time. 4 out of 5. It's frustrating that I got knocked out in the second leg, but I feel like, I will give it a shot the next time. There's $290-some thousand in the pick 5 carryover pool. But we move on to Sunday action, and again, toss out some thoughts on the late pick 4 at Belmont. And I'm just looking, Andy Serling typically will tweet out scratches maybe a little bit earlier than they show up on the website. He has done so today in this 7th race. The 6th, the main track only horse, is out. 7th race at Belmont today does kick off the late pick 4. State bred optional claimers, non-winners to 2, mile and an eighth on the grass. I have a 10, 9, 8, and 3. Chulane. Chulane was part of, if you were on that show parlay team up at Saratoga last year that just went totally bonkers. I can play that show parlay for another 20 years and not have that kind of luck. It was just a crazy sequence where we started with $100, and I think at the end we had $2,900. So everybody that was on the team, I think there were 10 people on the team, everybody got about $300. And it was just a fun sequence as we kept hitting show prices that were 5 or 6, or one of them might have been $7. Chulane was one of those. That's why I brought it up. Chulane up at Saratoga that day went off at 10-1 and helped that whole sequence. So maybe I'm a little bit married to Chulane, but I thought the seasonal debut for this one was pretty good. What we saw last year, I thought, gives this horse maybe a little bit of an edge on this bunch, and I thought the seasonal debut had this horse set up to get back to one of the better efforts, and that was enough in here. Chad Brown has Grape Nuts Warrior. Hasn't been seen since last year, but has shown some promise and, fairly lightly raced. Again, one of those that maybe off a layup comes back a little bit improved and just will have to improve a little bit to be right in the thick of things here. Roos goes out for Tim Hills, Dylan Davis on board. 3rd start back of the season. Started the season in a little turf sprint, then stretched out to this distance in a similar race last time. Ran an okay 2nd. I think off of those first 2, this horse is primed to be very competitive in here this afternoon. And Gary Siaka and the folks up at Eddie F's in Saratoga have bar 14. If you're putting a ticket together, again, I'm not suggesting any ticket because you want to make sure get all squared away. I just saw the scratches now, so I didn't have a chance to kind of look at the sequence with or without the scratches and put an actual ticket together. So I'm just tossing out ideas, but it depends on where you can pare things down and where you want to go deeper. But bar 14 is one that you certainly want to consider putting on the ticket, getting an 8-1 morning line price. But I think the horse is dangerous in that 7th at Belmont. I have a 10, 9, 8, and 3. 8th race at Belmont, no scratches at this point. I have it 1, 7, 5, and 6. Money in the Bank goes out for Chris Engelhardt off a nice win at the 25,000 claiming level. We're at 32 today. I don't think that's a big leap. I think this horse is in good form, off nice improving finishes in the last 3 starts, and I think this horse has the potential to maybe go back-to-back. Second spot, Coppertown goes out for Wesley Ward. Seasonal debut was against 40 claimers at Keeneland. Now comes back in the second start against the 32 crop, $32,000 claimers in New York. And I don't know whether it's enough of a class move to get excited about on the drop. I think this field is probably pretty comparable to what this guy typically faces, but he does so competitively. Al Cool's in the third spot for owner-trainer Linda Rice. Off a nice win at the 16 level, claimed and moved up. I kind of like the confident move up. That said, Al Cool's in the third spot for me, Absentee in the fourth spot. And again, all of that said, this leg, I probably would feel okay kind of sticking with the 1 and the 7. They're the two favorites on the morning line, but I think deservedly so. So for me, in the Belmont 8th, 1, 7, 5, and 6. Ninth race at Belmont on Sunday afternoon. The 6, again, main track only, scratched at this point. 4, 12, 3, and 11. But in this race, the 7 is also a little bit scary to me. But Galaxina going out for Jim Bond tries the turf today. So again, you got to put your trust in the trainer a little bit, but certainly has looked good. And this is a New York Stallion Series stakes race, $150,000 up for grabs. So you also have to take that into account. The experiment in an everyday race maybe is a little more of a put your trust in the trainer and take these. But sometimes these are, we will experiment, but what's pushing the experiment is 150K, 150,000 reasons to take the experiment. So, that you have to kind of weigh the reasoning here. But again, I put my trust in the connections here to be making an interesting move off of 3 very nice starts so far. Second in debut, broke the maiden in the second start, and then went in a dirt race, Stallion Series stakes race last time, and won that. So there's clearly some talent. The surface is going to be the question mark for Galaxina. Morning matchup, interesting. This is a Pennsylvania bred, actually, but Central Bank are on top, and this is a New York Stallion Series. So most of these are New York breds. I'm just looking at the rest of the field here to see if there are any other. Yeah, the entire rest of the field is New York breds. Morning matchup, Pennsylvania bred, but again with a New York Stallion, and that's the restrictions on this race. But morning matchup has been facing some open company in the Black-Eyed Susan, the Gazelle, the Basanda, and on occasion has been competitive with that company. So I just find this one interesting, moving back in against these restricted runners. Had tried this New York Stallion level company back in December and ran second to Yo Cuz, who's a talented runner. So we'll see. But morning matchup, 6-1 on the morning line. I think with those lines in against Nostalgic and Interstate Daydream, I think the whole betting public will be a little more enamored with that one, perhaps. How'd you make your money? Also coming in after facing open company, Gulfstream, Turfway, Woodbine for Mike Trombetta. I think moving into this restricted company, she is also very intriguing. In the 9th at Belmont, 4, 2, 3, and 11. As I say, the 7 is interesting there too, if you can spread around, or if you're just looking at your ticket and thinking, I find the 7 interesting. What is he? I'm kind of with you there. In the 10th and final at Belmont, 7, 6, 2, and 8. Brennan's War on top. Seasonal debut just looks like one of those horses that has come back, improved perhaps. The career maybe rebound to a better effort, because the career first couple of starts seem to indicate this kind of talent. And then the follow-up few races weren't quite as good. But, as I say, seems to have rebounded to it in the latest effort. Showed some speed before just getting caught late at 13-1. And do note, goes out for our friends at Bonaventure Stable. So we're wishing everybody involved, Dan Collins and company, good luck with Brennan's War. Martinez in the second spot. 2 starts back was on the dirt, was cleaned out of that race, and then went back to the turf last time. The number moved forward. nicely. I just think you look at that last race and you look at a couple underneath, and I think this horse is good enough to compete with this bunch. Relate in the third spot, state-bred maiden special move into state-bred maiden claimer. Had been trained by Steve Asmussen, now moves into the Mike Maker barn. Luis Saez on board. I think the class move is intriguing here. Moon Hunter being lightly raced at 10-1. If you're looking for a little bit of value to wind things up in the pick, Moon Hunter, I think, is intriguing in the second start. So the 10th and final at Belmont, 7, 6, 2, and 8. No, I didn't. Actually, my screen has gone black here. I didn't in the 9th. That 6 was scratched, the main track only, and in the 10th, the 9 is also a main track only, and that one is scratched. So that gives you some ideas. The late pick 4 at Belmont, and again, we'll be going over that live a little bit later on when we come back for OTB Live for a Sunday afternoon. But when we come back here in a couple of minutes, again, it is closing day after a lengthy Santa Anita winter spring meet, kicking off Boxing Day, day after Christmas. They kicked off, and Santa Anita Derby and the Big Cap and whatnot. But as you see there on the screen, mandatory payouts, all pools must pay out today, closing day at Santa Anita. So we'll come back after this break and we'll, again, toss out some ideas on their Rainbow Six today and give you a little opportunity to kind of start thinking about that. Don't forget, it's a 20-cent increment, so you can put a nice little ticket together for a reasonable amount of money, and they're expecting $3 million in the pool. So when we come back, a little look at Santa Anita closing day. Stay tuned.
Having trouble finding us? It's actually quite simple. Whether online or on your TV, it's never been easier to watch and wager on championship horse racing with Capital OTB. Simply log on to capitalotbbet.com. There you can watch our morning shows, live stream races, and wager on our state-of-the-art wagering platform. You can also watch from the comfort of your home on Spectrum Cable Channel 1250 or Fios Channel 467, and win more with Capital OTB.
Come on!
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Oops. My bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
Birdstone is an outside threat. They're coming down to the finish. Can Smarty Jones hold on? Here comes Birdstone. Birdstone surges past. Birdstone wins the Belmont Stakes.
Here comes Handicapping the defending champ, to take it to Monmouth. These two arch rivals head to head with Joe Hart very dominant. It's going to be a 3-horse photo finish to the turn. Here's the wire. Final finish.
Welcome back to Racing Across America. As noted, Santa Anita closing day today. I pulled up the leaders. Again, they kicked off the day after Christmas. I will say, you know, I don't follow Santa Anita necessarily day-to-day basis, but you watch over the big days and you watch over the season and whatnot. But boy, it is different in the jocks room now than it has been for years and years. I mean, I look at some of the jockeys out there when I handicap, and I'm just not even really familiar. And the leader, and the clear leader at Santa Anita, Juan Hernandez, a guy, like I say, not necessarily a name that jumps off the page, as was the case for many years. If you looked at the leaderboard at Santa Anita, they were names that, you go back to, McCarron's and Chris McCarron and Eddie Della Houssaye and the various, Rafael Hirano, I'll hit on him in just a second, was notable out there for quite a while. I mean, you looked and they were very familiar names. Now, maybe not so much, but Juan Hernandez, again, going to easily wind up to be the leading jockey. He has 102 victories, and second place jockey isn't there anymore. Flavian Prat has 73. Tyler Bays, familiar with that name, 52. Abel Cedillo has shown up in Southern California and has made a little noise. Umberto Rispoli, who took a little time off and tried to come east and then decided to head back to Southern California. Notable here, as I'm looking, Equibase pulled up the stats again and looking at the top jocks at the current meet. Sitting at number 8, still sitting at number 2 is Flavian Prat, and he hasn't been there in a while. But sitting at number 8, and he hasn't been there in a while either, John Velasquez, who spent the winter out in Southern California, but still sitting in the top 10 out there. And on the trainer side of things, a little more familiar as far as that is concerned. Phil D'Amato, number 1. And will wind up number 1. He's got a 20-win lead over Doug O'Neill. John Sadler, 3rd. Bob Baffert still sitting in 5th place there. But again, it will be Phil D'Amato getting it done on the trainer side. Juan Hernandez on the jockey side. And I said I was going to mention Rafael Bay Hirano because it was notable going back to Friday. Rafael Bay Hirano recorded his 500th career victory at Churchill Downs. 500 at Churchill. He has, I think the article notes how many victories he has overall. I thought I had that circled, but obviously it is many, many more than that 500. Oh, here it is. Overall in his career, he's won 4,281 as of when this article was written. If he won some more last night, that added to that total. But well over 4,200 victories overall. But he scored on Friday his 500th lifetime victory at Churchill Downs. Puts him in kind of select company. Some of these names have moved far beyond 500. Pat Day leads, the all-time winningest jockey at Churchill. Pat Day, 2,482. So again, you can see, you get in select company with 500. Pat Day was kind of the king of Churchill Downs. Calvin Burrell, 1,200 plus victories. Robbie Alvarado, 1,100 plus. Corey Lannery, over 1,100. Julian Leporello, over 1,000 victories. That was notable, a week or 10 days ago. Don Brumfield, there's a name from the past, 925. Larry Melanson, 914. Jim McKnight, I am not familiar with that name, 883. Charlie Woods Jr., 752. Brian Hernandez, currently still riding, 740. Shane Sellers, 738. Sean Bridgemahan, 728. Julio Espinoza, 642. And John Court, 583. So there are your 15, your select group of 15 who have ridden at Churchill Downs and done very, very well over the years. And of course, Rafael Bay Hirano, I didn't realize it until I read this article. It kind of started when he came to the United States at Churchill. He had began riding at Churchill in 2003 and then moved his tack out to Southern California in 2008 and made a lot of noise out there before coming back east in 2020. So again, nice career milestone for Rafael Bay Hirano, who they note in the article some of the nice horses he's ridden over the career as well. Won the 2010 Kentucky Oaks on blind luck. A very good runner, obviously. All right, let's got a few minutes here, so just quickly we'll toss out some ideas on the Rainbow Six this afternoon at Santa Anita, which again, mandatory pay with closing day upon us, and they're expecting $3 million in the pool. It does have at least $3 million. It does have a increment of 20 cents. So again, you can put together a pretty reasonable ticket for and have a number of runners, but for a reasonable amount of money, jump in the pool. It will go off, sixth race today goes off at 3:36 their time. That's a little after 6:30 our time. Sixth race kicks off. That's Santa Anita pick 6. In that 6, they have 1, 4, and 8. Alaniac on top. I will say, all 3 of the horses I'm using have some holes in them on the human side of things. Elaniac has a 10-pound apprentice on board, and I'm always leery about those. But this horse did put in a pretty good debut. It was last June, so a year ago. Now comes back for a maiden tag, that debut. And the debut, I say pretty good. You know, it was one to build on. It was a fourth-place finish, but it seemed like one that got the horse maybe a little bit of experience and had a little trouble in there. Does seem very playable this afternoon, but layoff, 10-pound apprentice. Besame Mucho in the second spot. This one comes off a nice second-place finish last time, but claimed away from a higher percentage trainer and moves into the barn, who overall this year has done okay, but at this meet, not so much. Running an 0 for very late, obviously, in the meet, although with a limited number of starters. So again, you have the 10-pound apprentice, you have a trainer on an 0 for, and then Arrest, the horse I have in the third spot. Again, number-wise fits with this group, gets some class relief, but a 7-pound apprentice. So it's going to be a rough start for me in the Rainbow, but if I get past this, then I have a little more experience on the jockey and trainer side going forward. But I'm looking at 1, 4, and 8 in the 6th race at Santa Anita. San Juan Capistrano, race number 7, 1 3/4. Red King is a marathon specialist, has run well in this very race in the past. I'm going to put that one on top. But it is an 8-year-old. 3 starts so far this year, hasn't gotten it done, but a couple of second-place finishes. But I'll put that one on top. Second slot, I'll use Avenue. Lately raced for trainer Mike McCarthy. Does try this marathonish distance for the first time, but I think there's some talent there. Dean Martini for Peter Urton. Third start of the season, tried 1.25 miles last time, ran 6th, but I think did it, you know, with a number that kind of puts this horse in the mix. So for me in the 7th, the San Juan Capistrano, I'll go 5, 3, and 4. The 8th race, I'll go a couple of deep, you know, 2 deep in here. 4 and 5, optional claimer, non-winners in 1, 6 furlongs on the turf, Fast Buck. Debuted last year at Del Mar, wasn't anything to write home about. Then came back this year on the turf at Santa Anita, won the maiden breaker in start number 2, stayed on the turf and won nicely in an optional claimer, moves up the class ladder a little bit here, but boy, I just think what we've seen so far makes Fast Buck very, very intriguing in here. I would think the potential is some people might single there, but Southern Horse for John Sadler, I think talent-wise to me, these two are pretty comparable, and Southern Horse is coming in off a couple of wins most recently here, sprinting on the turf at Santa Anita himself. So I have to use both of those in the 8th at Santa Anita, the 4 and the 5. In race number 9, maiden specials going 6.5, 9, 2, and 10. I'll put Hero Status on top. Comes in off a couple of nice and couple of improving tries. Seem to have this horse maybe primed to move forward and break through this afternoon. Patron d'Oro in the second spot. Debuted over a year ago, March and April of 2021. Nice improvement, start 1 to start 2. Then laid off from April until December. Showed some punch before fading, but held the buyer number to where it was. Now comes back off a long layoff again, but boy, there's a string of workouts underneath that seem to indicate this horse may come back ready to run. So Patron d'Oro in the second spot, and Famous Star has shown some ability for John Sadler, having run very well in the first 3 starts, and again has the potential to maybe kind of move forward. Adds blinkers today, which may be beneficial as well. So 9th race, 9, 2, and 10. 10th race is an allowance non-winners of 1 other than 6.5 furlongs on the grass. I'm 2 deep in here. After midnight, 9 and 8. After midnight and Lalick, but after midnight hasn't been seen since Del Mar last year. Lalick, the number 8, hasn't been seen since Del Mar last year. I'm not thrilled on that aspect on either of these, but I just looked at the rest of the field. Others are coming off similar layoffs. The ones with more recency weren't necessarily jumping off the page at me. Delmar Drama, the 2, maybe has a little bit. Respectfully, there's a little something there. I just thought talent-wise, the 9 and the 8 may have the edge if ready. And again, they're both working well for the return. So in the 10th, it's questionable, but I'm going to stick with the 9 and the 8. And finally, we wrap things up at Santa Anita with the American, a grade 3 event. It'll wrap up the Santa Anita winter spring meet. I have a 2, 9, and 4. Hong Kong Harry on top. A couple of nice wins going back to March and April, but obviously in very good form since arriving in the United States. Second slot, we'll take a look at number 9, Tripoli. Last seen in the Breeders' Cup Classic. Last few races have been on dirt, but has turf form that is okay. I'm finding it intriguing that John Sadler says, yeah, let's go back and try the turf. And then Greg Dar in the 3rd spot. I think it's an interesting fit with this bunch. And cutting back from the 1.25 miles last time, just looks intriguing on the scenario that they gave that Whittingham a shot, and now they're going to come back at this mile distance. The 6.5 furlong races prior to last time kind of are intriguing with this bunch. So a 10-1 might be an interesting way to wind up the sequence. The 11th at Santa Anita, the American, 2, 9, and 4. And again, Rainbow 6 carryover, but more importantly, a mandatory today with the closing day at Santa Anita. 20-cent increments, you can jump in and take a shot at what they are estimating will be $3 million or more in the Rainbow Pool this afternoon at Santa Anita. All right, I'm going to wrap things up. We've done a little review. We've done a little preview. So hopefully you've taken something away from that will help you today or in the future. As I say, some of our review included certainly horses we'll be seeing up at Saratoga. Really looking forward to seeing that 3-year-old or that 2-year-old filly with the 101 Money's Gold. Keep your eyes on her from Todd Pletcher. I'll wrap it up. Don't forget, pick and putt today at the Clubhouse Racebook. You can come on down, and during the afternoon, folks will be randomly selected to step up to the putting green, have a chance to win some dough in honor of the U.S. Open. Our little putting green, there are 3 holes actually, so you have multiple opportunities, and then there's a little kind of a couple little gutters in the back, and if you land in those, maybe you win some merchandise. But it's always a lot of fun. Folks, as I say, randomly selected throughout the afternoon, and maybe that will be you if you stop down and join us at the Clubhouse Racebook today, 711 Central Avenue in Albany. Otherwise, we'll be back in about an hour and a half or so with a Sunday afternoon OTB Live. I'm Seth Merrow. As always, thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it. We'll see you in a little bit for OTB Live. See you then.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off Track Betting.